Hello and welcome to the Georgia's Live podcast. I am your host, Travis Smith. The Georgia's Live podcast is the official podcast of Georgia's Majestic Lounge, a music venue located on Dixon Street in Fayetteville, Arkansas. You can go online to georgiaslive.com to see what concerts are happening there, as well as purchase tickets for those concerts. And you can follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Georgia's Majestic Lounge and on Twitter at Georgia's Majestic. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Georgia's Live podcast. I am your host, Travis Smith. And today we're going to have Dan Robinson of FPTV on, and he is going to talk about the things that they're doing over at Fayetteville Public Television with the pandemic and kind of shifting gears and offering some different services and stuff like that. So he'll be coming on to talk about that. And I'm going to read you a little bit from the FPTV website to kind of cue you guys up. If you go over to fayepublic.tv, you could see their website there. And Fayetteville Public Television is a unique resource offered by the city of Fayetteville that provides video production classes, equipment, and a channel on local cable and online to share your video with the television and internet audience. These resources are free to Fayetteville residents, employees of City of Fayetteville, employees of Fayetteville-based nonprofits, and students of Fayetteville-based educational institutions. Residents of Washington and Benton County are welcome to use the resources at a $50 annual membership fee. So basically what this is, it's been a place where you can go in and you can learn to use cameras and use equipment, and you can take classes on it. And then you're able to rent the equipment and go out into the field or shoot whatever you're wanting to shoot. You can take editing classes and go back and, edit your video there. And Fayetteville Public TV will put that video up online. And I like Dan kind of dive into it a little bit more, and he'll talk about the new things that they are doing. Dan is a staple in the Northwest Arkansas community. He's been here for a long time musician. He's played with a lot of popular bands around town, and it's good to get him on the podcast to kind of talk about what they've been up to. It's going to be good to talk to him again. As you guys heard on the last podcast, Georgia's is now bringing back music, and we haven't really had any since, around March, but we're bringing back the Happy Hour streaming series. You can find information online at georgiaslive.com. There you can see when the Happy Hour streaming is going to be taking place, and those will be available from the Georgia's Facebook page. So if you go to facebook.com/Georgia's Majestic Lounge, if you haven't liked the page already, and you give it a like there, and you head on over to the Facebook page at the time that the show will be starting, you'll see a little box that says that the page or that page is going live. You click that and you'll be able to watch the concert right there from that window. So that's pretty cool. We're also doing the outdoor concert series that we talked about on the last podcast with Brian Crown, and he went over the precautions that we're going to be taking and the preliminary schedule that we've kind of released to get that series going. So we're taking many safety precautions here at Georgia's Majestic Lounge with these shows coming back. We're looking forward to, having you guys back and having music in a little bit different capacity than what we did before, but maybe bringing back a little bit of music into our lives. So let's go ahead and go into this interview with Dan Robinson at FPTV. Super pumped about having him on. You guys need to take advantage of the resources that are at FPTV. In my opinion, it is one of the most resourceful locations in all of Northwest Arkansas for an artist to use. You could go in there and shoot a lot of content that you could be using as an artist in Northwest Arkansas to help your career and your brand or your band or your career. So here is Dan Robinson on the Georgia's Live podcast. All right, I am here with Dan Robinson at FPTV. What's up, bud? How are you?
Hey, man, it's good to be here.
And I know you've had your own history at Georgia's Majestic Lounge, and especially being in the Northwest Arkansas community. You're there at FPTV. Wanted to have you on to talk about kind of what you guys were doing before the pandemic, kind of what you're doing during the pandemic. Everybody's switching gears and trying new things and stuff like that. So kind of talk a little bit about FPTV and what you guys do.
All right. Well, Fayetteville Public Television is a great, unique resource here in Fayetteville that offers classes in video production, equipment to produce that video, and then a channel on Cox 218, ATT Uverse 99, and on YouTube Live, where we share whatever you create with a television and internet audience. So before the pandemic, we were rocking with record-breaking class participations and lots of equipment checkouts, and we were rolling out tons of shows. Obviously, the world changed. But the need for video became greater. So what we had to do was shut down the television center for safety purposes. However, we immediately beefed up our online educational materials. So there are instructional videos. We teach DaVinci Resolve because it's free. And so if someone wants to get into editing, video editing, they can download DaVinci Resolve. They can go to our YouTube channel where we have essentially customized instructional videos on how you can edit your video. So, I mean, we're trying to do everything we can to help people understand that in this time when they're trying to get the word out about what they're doing and how they're doing it, being able to put your content on television is an incredible resource that is available here in Fayetteville, and it reaches all the way up to Bentonville. And then, of course, on YouTube Live, we're reaching a worldwide audience. So it's our goal to just help people get exposure and help them understand what's going on, and really try to help the community at large recognize the great artistic things that are happening here in this time when we can't go to venues. We want to be a window into that culture.
Nice. It's interesting how everybody has went online. For us, me and you personally, kind of being kind of nerdy in that world. It's kind of like we kind of had a toe in it, but now all musicians and a lot of businesses with this pandemic hitting, everything just went straight to online streaming. All the streaming gear got bought up, and the
Yep.
learning curves, the tutorials. There's a lot of I saw something today, just a musician, a lot of musicians have switched over and, using resources like what you guys offer to make their own videos, going into their own brand, talking about here's how I'm promoting my music during the pandemic. Here's how, the resources I'm using, here's where I'm putting them online and stuff like that. And I feel, I've found from talking just to like my musician friends and stuff like that, that kind of staying busy and really diving into their own music and pumping it out, it's really been helping a little bit with like their mental health, helping them stay busy and stuff like that. And I think that's like super important. It's almost like keeping your mind busy so you're not thinking about the fact that you may not be getting unemployment. You may not have any gigs coming up, some say till like 2022, which is a possibility for it to come back in the way that we saw it before. So it's really
Yeah.
great that you guys are offering these services.
Absolutely. I feel like this is a time for musicians to connect in a new way with their fan base. It's like if you think about the way that we musicians connect with our fan base, we go to a gig, we might run into a stranger. They'd be like, hey, I like your stuff. Everybody's been a little drinking, and it's like, who was it I ran into last night? Now is the opportunity to make meaningful relationships with people who support your art and believe in your art. And I think there are great ways to just get that stuff out there. So just like you said, that video content that those musicians are already creating, we are happy to just put on television. If you go to our website, faypublic.tv, right at the top, there's a link for a program request form. And what you can do is just give us a link to it on your YouTube, and we can pull it off of your YouTube and put it on television. So yeah, we want to get that video content out there, but I think musicians really need to take this opportunity to engage their fan base and really make those relationships to where when they are able to get out back into venues again, the people who are there are people that they have a connection with. They're not waiting for a built-in audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there's
So
not going to be one, right? Where's the
yeah,
built-in audience going to be?
I know it's one of those things where that's a scary thought, Dan, just to even think. I was just like, holy moly, is that even going to be a thing anymore?
No. I
So
mean, because we're socially distancing. I mean, it's going to be your people who are coming to see you.
mhm,
It's not going to be a house full of strangers.
that's kind of how we're seeing with George's here. We're doing this live stream series with the happy hours, but then we're also moving some concerts outside and bumping our capacity down outside in the parking lot. And that's, you know, uh, Brian said, who was on our last podcast, he's like, as a talent buyer, he's usually able to kind of forecast what's going on in the future. You got ticket sales, you can see how many tickets you've sold and stuff like this. And as a promoter or a venue owner on that side, there's no way that you can really tell what's going on. I used to book myself at multiple venues, and I can't imagine just like, the artists hitting them up and stuff like that, and nobody really knowing what it looks like. And we're not really getting like a lot of like guidelines and procedures really thrown at us and parameters to work within, to where we can really work within it. It's such a scary time. So I think building that content, it's like an arsenal, like building a TV show where they do 8 series, like they'll do 8 episodes and then they release it and they'll promote that. That's, if you think of that like an artist, if you're sitting at home, and you're recording these acoustic things, or you're coming in and recording just bits of content, I don't feel like you have to release that right then. You could be stockpiling your stuff, building your whole campaign for whenever you come out, and then releasing it as you go, and then working with people like you guys that can kind of help them, let them know where, hey, listen, just because you have this recorded and it's online, you can bring it over here and we'll put it on TV for you. Here's why it's important for it to be online, because it lives there and then it's all over the world. So I've been telling people for a long time, you guys offer one of the best services in Northwest Arkansas, and it's a no-brainer to use you to come in there and take advantage of the services you offer.
Yep. Well, we appreciate that. And it's been really exciting to see so many great people engaging with these resources over the years. I've been with FPTV for 8 years now, and we've been able to document some incredible moments in Fayetteville's musical history. I have Barrett Baber before he was famous, and then even beloved musicians that have gone on. We've got Darren Ray, and we've got Copeland Bates, and we've got these moments that are incredibly precious, in my opinion, to the history of the music culture of Northwest Arkansas. And so we have those archived, and we still continue to share those with the world. And we are really proud to be doing that.
I've walked in your the hallway back in the day that had all the VHS tapes that had like 1991 and had written on it, and
Yes.
I've seen a few of them.
So,
It's crazy how much footage you guys have.
yes, so we have 20 years of Fayetteville's history on FHS and several other mediums that we're hoping to digitize. We were starting a campaign to get a community effort behind digitizing that before the pandemic. So once we get things back in the groove, we're going to give the community an opportunity to come in and check those videos out for us, and we're going to aggregate those. But yes, I feel like one of the really important parts of Fayetteville Public Television is the fact that we're able to document the culture of our community. And then share that with the world, show them why it is that Northwest Arkansas leads the way we do in all the different arenas that we do. So we're very proud of it, and we're really excited about what the next 5 years is going to hold for Fayetteville Public Television.
Absolutely. It's obviously being a component of podcasts, being on it, and me probably having a ton of them. But do you guys have a podcast space there, don't you know?
We do. I'm in the podcast space right now. Yes, we do have a dedicated podcast space where if someone is interested in learning about podcasts and getting those things going, we have an opportunity for them to explore that territory without cost initially, so that they can figure out how they would want to pursue that in the future. And then especially for community organizations and nonprofits, if they want to have a podcast that's not being monetized in any way, then we can be the place where they can make that happen. Our podcast booth and our editing booths will probably be part of our phase 3 opening. Phase 1 is just us being able to work at the television center. Phase 2 is going to be us being able to check out gear again. And then phase 3 is going to be being able to host the community back in the television center. So we're hoping everyone will continue to do the great work of wearing masks and social distancing, because our availability is directly tied to the numbers in the region. So the moment that we hit a certain threshold of not as many positive cases is the moment we're going to be able to start doing our great work for the community again.
Nice. Let's talk about podcasts and why they're important for a second. I think some people see it as, well, there's so many podcasts, why do I need one? And I think if you have a brand, if you have a business, if you're a musician, if you have anything that you're wanting people to know about, it's a great, I always call it a sidecar. It might not be what you lead with if you're pushing anything, because I mean, it's pretty hard to get rich off doing podcasts, but like, it's something where you can really dive in and provide more information on your product. Like you were saying, like if you have an organization and you're really wanting to get the message out of where you guys are coming from and what goals you have and your objectives. And if you're doing like some cool stuff that, that's if you don't look at it as like bragging on yourself, but kind of telling the story of your brand and stuff like that, that's what people are interested in. And I think having something where you can come on and kind of talk about what you guys are doing. There's some bands that have podcasts that talk about what it's like on the road and what it's been like on their journey as a musician and stuff like that. Can you kind of speak on why you think podcasts might be important to someone and how it could be something that can be helpful in their career?
Absolutely. I think any way that you are able to humanize yourself for your audience and that they are able to make a personal connection with you is going to make those connections deeper, and it's going to expand your base. When someone cares about what you're doing, then their likelihood to share what you have done is greater. Whereas if you're just expecting strangers to share stuff, to other strangers, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. So I totally agree with you that for people to kind of give their audience and their fans a window into their process and their personality and their struggles, being real and being vulnerable, and then showing them the successes that come out of that and making them feel like they're part of that journey, that is going to be a lifelong fan, instead of just someone who buys your CD and sticks it in their stack of CDs.
Absolutely.
What's a CD?
Yeah, no kidding. I found my old band CDs. I was out at my mom's house the other day. Do you remember a band called Phantasmelodia?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I found like Javon left a box of CDs with me, and I had a whole thing of their CDs. In fact,
Dude, I spun Phantasmelodia on Local X.
did you? Look at this
Oh yeah.
bad boy. Does that bring back any memories? That's
Yeah, look at that.
so.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So speaking of Fayetteville history, my mom was moving out of the house that I'd been raised in. So I had some stuff that was still there, and she had saved like all the old, a lot of the stuff from like my career and stuff, doing mom stuff. But I had tons of like Fayetteville history stuff, like all my
Yeah,
old friends and the bands that a lot of people that are in now, their old bands, like some Deacon stuff like that, and
yeah,
some old school Fayetteville stuff. So I've been like kind of figuring out a way to maybe scan it and then send it to them, or maybe start like a little Facebook page or send it over to what Danelle Campbell's doing with the Good Times Fayetteville and stuff like that.
yeah.
We're dropping some stuff in there. We have such a rich history of music here in Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas, the state of Arkansas in itself.
And the early 2000s were such an interesting chapter, because we were coming out of the rage of the 90s, and it was starting to shift, and people were trying to figure out what was happening. So I think, from 2000 to 2010 was a fascinating chapter in Northwest Arkansas music and in the Fayetteville music scene in particular.
That is exactly when I really got into playing on Dixon Street and being really active in the community, because I'd kind of played out of town a little bit, or I was just now really coming out of, I was kind of, I graduated high school like in 2003. So I did the Ozark Blues Society jams when I was like kind of 15, 16-ish. So, and I used to stand outside Chester's and watch Harold, who's here with us at George's, whenever like Big Smith was playing down there. So I
Yep.
would stand outside and watch those shows with Robbie Locke, who had Shindig Music. So we're standing out watching those shows and stuff like that. And I remember very vividly those moments. And another guy that made like hemp necklaces out there and played a bongo drum. But
Yeah.
we would stand out there and watch music and stuff like that. And then I remember all these different bands and stuff that have came and still around, some of them, and so many musicians that are still playing today seem to really bust out during that time. And it's like you're saying, it was very interesting. That's when, venues were kind of changing and the tides and stuff like that. We had places on Dixon Street like the Gypsy with a big outdoor area with outside. You could go outside and hear music on the street and stuff like that. That was,
Yeah. And Dave's on Dixon came and Dave's on Dixon left.
people still talk about shows they saw at Dave's.
Yep.
So I'm always, as you know, I'm always a big champion for our music community here and for the entities that are in Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas that are really reaching out and helping artists get to a level. And I commend you so much on the work you've done all the way going back to the Local X, which is where I met you. You've always been someone that's like a lifeline for musicians.
Well, it's something I'm happy to do. I love the Fayetteville music community. I love the Northwest Arkansas music community. I really appreciate everything you've been doing. I mean, the educational materials that you have been providing have been
I appreciate
awesome,
that.
just to see the community engaging with them and just to see the whole scene kind of elevate because there's someone who's saying, hey, this is how you need to do it right.
W-
So yeah, I
Let's,
really
well,
appreciate what
I'm
you're
right here.
doing.
I'm close to the source, man. There's so many good people that I'm so fortunate to be working at George's with people like Brian and Day and Arlie and Bus and Andy and Crit. Like it's like I feel like sometimes it's like an all-star team of people that did a little bit of everything and they're all working together. It's nice to be in a place that's so positive and we're actually, taking the safety precautions with these concerts and stuff like that. But being in a position to be able to talk to artists and kind of get feedback from them and find out what they're doing. Because me being an artist myself and getting into kind of the music business, I felt like I had like a duty to where if somebody's having kind of a hang up on why something might not be working and I know the answer and all I got to do is just say it to them. I feel like it's like a service I need to do and be like, hey, listen, this venue might not work for you, but here's 3 that does. And here's how you play those venues correctly. And once you do that, you should come back to me and we'll put you over here. Like just being a lifeline of a dude that's like lived in this town for a
Yeah,
long time,
yeah.
you know? And
It's
for
what we
our
try to do, and I think there's been great results. I think the last 5 years have shown that these efforts and the leadership that George's has been able to make, and thanks to the support of the city, the great progress we've been able to make with Fayetteville Public Television shows that the arts in Fayetteville are just booming. And even through this tough time, finding ways to keep the arts alive and vital, that's what we're fighting for. And so it's good work, it's hard work, but we're proud to be doing it.
Dan, thank you for coming on. You want to send everybody to your guys' social media and website one more time?
Absolutely. So it's if you can look up Fayetteville Public Television on Facebook, and then you can check out our website at faypublic.tv. That's going to get you connected with all of our resources, and we would love to get you involved.
Awesome. Dan, thank you for coming on the podcast. Doing great stuff.
Thanks, Travis.
No problem. Take it easy, buddy. That was Dan Robinson on the George's Live podcast. I'd like to thank Dan for coming on. If you're playing music and you want to submit a video to FPTV from your phone, you can use any device. You will go to the faypublic.tv website, and at the top, you will see a link that says for a web on the website for a submission form. And if you submit your video there, you can send it straight into FPTV, and they'll take care of getting it up on there for you. So wanted to add that on there. I'd like to thank Dan for coming on the podcast. I'd like to thank you guys for listening. And if you go online to georgeslive.com, you'll be able to see what shows are coming up as well as purchase tickets for those shows. If you go to the About section, go to the bottom of the page to the frequently asked questions. There you'll be able to find what COVID precautions we're going to be taking for the series that is coming up. Be sure to follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at George's Majestic Lounge and on Twitter at George's Majestic. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.